Hello, welcome to FootPrints. My name is Samuel Atamensa. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be speaking with somebody I consider a colossus, somebody who has defined the space of journalism over 7 decades. Yes, you heard me right, 7 decades. We'll be right back.
Born and educated in Ghana, Cameron Duodu started work on a general-purpose magazine called New Nation in Ghana, then moved to the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation (GBC), where he rose to become editor of radio news. He returned to the magazine world as editor of the Ghana edition of the famous Pan-African magazine Drum. He also worked as the editor of the Daily Graphic. Cameron Duodu is a world-acclaimed novelist with books such as The Gap Boys to his credit. Our guest, Cameron Duodu, a veteran journalist, tells his story on FootPrints now.
Welcome back. So now you know who we are talking about. His name is Cameron Duodu. Is it Martin Cameron Duodu?
Yes.
Martin Cameron Duodu. But, you know, we all know the name Cameron Duodu. But how did you come by the name Cameron?
My father was a cocoa buyer.
Okay.
And he had a very...
As we call cocoa cratchy.
He had a very nice chap to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had
English,
a very
right?
nice... Yes, Scottish.
Scottish then,
Yeah.
of course. They used to come here. Yeah.
Yes, so he named me after the chap benefited him economically.
Wow.
Yes.
So that's because Cameron at the time wasn't a name that you could easily find around.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're used to names like John, Peter, Isaac.
When I went to school, nobody called me Cameron. They called me Martin.
Martin, because Cameron now would do. Good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Let me ask first. How old are you now?
I will be 85 in exactly 1 week.
You heard me. You heard him. He will be 85 years. 85, and he's looking this good. And I'm just gone past 50. Look at the way I'm looking some way. But, oh, good to see you.
Thank you very much.
See you. I mean, we grew up hearing the name Cameron Duodu, you know, in different aspects of journalism.
Yes.
In broadcast journalism, print journalism, commentaries, editorials, on different platforms. Different platforms. I mean, in our secondary school days, I think you were connected to the West Africa magazine, right?
Well, I wrote for it, but Drum magazine
was your main thing. But
vehicle.
You had a column in West Africa magazine or something.
Occasional column, yes.
Okay, which came up quite strongly at the time.
Yes.
And so that's how we were connected to the name.
Yes.
But we never used to see you in Ghana.
No.
Because we are way younger, so I can understand. Yes, I am young. So, where were you born?
DANQUAH in Achimabuakwa. It's about 8 miles from Chebi, the capital of Achimabuakwa.
Okay. So you consider yourself an Achim person?
I am an Achim person. What do you mean I consider myself?
Take it easy, man. So you grew up in DANQUAH?
Yes.
Where the body any man came pa?
In Kontomire.
Kontomire?
Yes.
DANQUAH body ba ko be say bayre.
You know the place.
Yeah. So you schooling?
Yes, DANQUAH Presbyterian, and then I moved to Chebi Government School.
At the time?
Yes. And when I finished what we used to call Standard 7,
yeah,
I became a people teacher. And through that, I used to attend classes organized by the University of Ghana, Extramural Studies Department, for people who were not in secondary schools.
All right.
I couldn't go to secondary school.
While you were teaching?
Yes. And one of the lecturers, Mr. E.C.E. Esiama, who was lecturing in English at Bokwa State College, which is only 8 miles away, came to give us lectures in English. And he saw my efforts and he said, Why are you wasting time being a teacher? Take a correspondence course and get your GCE and go to university.
At that time, what kind of correspondence courses were the University of London or University of Ghana first?
Rapid Results College.
Oh yes,
London.
Rapid Results College.
Yes.
Yes. It was very dominant in the system at that time.
Absolutely. So he directed me to take 5 subjects and Latin. He was a Latin master at DANQUAH State College. He said he would tutor me in Latin himself. But it was taking too much time. Latin, all these conjugations.
Yeah.
So I dropped that and I concentrated on 5 subjects that I knew were bankers. And I did it in 15 months.
15 months?
15 months, yes.
Wow. So you wrote the ordinary level?
Yes. And then I did A-level.
With the same Rapid Results College?
Yes.
Wow.
And
so this is when you used to do your examination and everything through the post?
For the private tutorials, you got it through the post.
Okay.
But when we wanted to do the exam itself, GCO level, West African Examinations Council organized it for the University of London.
London, yeah.
And you sat and you
Wow.
got your result, yes.
So you did an A-level as well?
Yes.
And how did it go?
Very well. So I wanted to go to the university immediately. But I wanted to read English. And there was an obstacle. You had to have Latin. I wanted to do economics. You had to have mathematics. So I was just about,
all over the place.
Yes. And then I discovered a magazine called New Nation. And they were accepting articles from people. And because I had already attracted notice as someone who could write good essays, I tried my hand and sent them an article, and they printed it. At the same time, the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation used to have a program called The Singing Net for short stories.
Right.
And I used to listen to that a lot. And again, I tried my luck, and they accepted it. Can you imagine me, a pupil teacher at DANQUAH, having his name broadcast all over Ghana?
No. That was the breakthrough.
And it gave me the bite.
Right.
Now I knew that.
Yeah, you could do something.
Yes.
So then how was life in DANQUAH? And which years are we talking about?
I was born in 1937. I went to class 1 in 1945. Finished elementary school in 1953. So between 53 and 55, I was a pupil teacher.
Wow.
Living with my
classmates.
classmates.
Before independence?
Oh, yes.
Wow. That's interesting. There was no light there. There was no drinking water. We all...
Yeah, very wicked. You are reminding me of my candlelight days.
Yeah, you could afford candles.
You
could actually afford candles.
With my people teacher salary.
Correct. Because we say bobo nani you used to. Any crazy.
So I got everything done by candlelight.
Lantern was even a luxury.
Oh yeah, you needed to go and buy kerosene in it and so on.
Wow.
Oh, it was tough, but I just loved to acquire knowledge.
Yeah.
So difficulties were nothing to me.
Wow. Okay, so when you got noticed through the New Nation, where did that lead you?
To the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation itself, because I had been contributing as an outside contributor.
To the singing.
They knew my name, yes. So I applied to join,
GBC at the time.
Yes.
What was the name again? At the time, was it Ghana Broadcasting Corporation?
Gold Coast Broadcasting Service.
Gold Coast Broadcasting Service. Even before the name Ghana was discovered,
Absolutely.
he was. Wow. I'm trying to imagine how things were. And you had all these white people in charge of everything.
From BBC, yes. And they were watching us and trying to guide us.
So how was the recruitment like? You applied and you were successful.
I applied because they knew my name They called me for an interview.
Yeah.
And then they went and put me in a studio. I had never seen a microphone before. And there was this studio with the table and everything. And they gave me an actual news bulletin to read.
Yes, sir.
The previous day's bulletin. But because I was so inquisitive, you know, I used to listen to BBC a lot, Voice of America, anything that I could hear.
Yeah.
So I knew the pronunciations. Can you imagine me at a circle, in a circle, coming to Ghana Broadcasting or Gold Coast Broadcasting Service and being given a bulletin including names like Kefauver, Eisenhower, and so on. And I just picked it up and read it. And in the middle of it, I stopped and said, "This is the Gold Coast Broadcasting Service. Here is the news at 1 o'clock." And I could see them. You know, they had a screen.
The window, the screen thing.
Yeah, behind. And I heard somebody say, "He must listen a lot." I think, I've got it.
Yeah.
I came out, and the Director General of Ghana Broadcasting Service, Mr. Miller, was there. Miller.
Yeah. Okay.
J.B. Miller. He was there. I said, "Cameron, you did very well, but we shall write you." And then they wrote to me and said that the weakest section of the Broadcasting Corporation was the news setup. So they wanted me to go there. This was a backhanded compliment. They wanted me to go and help strengthen the news service. I said, all right. So I went there. Hey, as a reporter, I didn't know shorthand.
Yeah.
I couldn't type.
Yeah.
But because of the interest, I would go cover the story, come back and shorten it, you know.
Yeah. So at this point, how old were you when you entered GBC?
19.
19 years?
Yes.
You hadn't done tertiary education?
No.
But you felt you were qualified?
Well, this is the thing about broadcasting. It's output. Yeah. Nobody is going to say you have this certificate or that.
Or not. Right.
What have you produced?
Yeah.
And you went to an assignment, came back, looked at the time, maybe you come back at 12:30, and the news bulletin is at 1 o'clock, and you've got 15 minutes within which to produce an item that would be heard all over the country. And you had to do it. If you made a mistake, the whole country would hear it.
Yeah.
So that training, you know, the ability to try and remember things, write very terrible handwriting, one word should bring a whole sentence to life, and so on and so forth.
So how long in total were you with GBC?
I was with them for 3 years.
3 years.
I joined as a reporter, became a sub-editor the next year, and then news editor in the third year.
Whoa. So this would be which year? By this time, Ghana was still Gold Coast?
No.
Okay. So you saw the transition from Gold Coast into Ghana.
Yes.
People, I'm speaking with Mr. Cameron Duodu, a veteran by all standards, veteran journalist, and you can call journalist, writer, commentator, everything, you know. And at this point, we are trying to cross from Gold Coast to Ghana. And at this time, he was at GBC, or Gold Coast Broadcasting Service, GBS, maybe. Okay. So tell us, so how was the transition?
I was assigned to go and cover the Polo Ground.
The rally?
Yes. And I was very close to them because
days?
Yes, I had a press thing around my neck.
And you saw the whole action.
I was there. Kwame Nkrumah had been speaking in Parliament.
Yeah.
So his voice was going, and he called Krobodisi and said, "Bepai mame." Bepai mame.
Just on my casa.
So Krobot came in. Joe, boy, you know, that's before the rally.
The energy was there.
And then he got up and said, "At long last, the battle is ended, and Ghana, our beloved country, is free forever."
You wanted to die, like
It wasn't you. About 500,000 people around.
Where was this exactly?
It used to be opposite the
the
old Parliament House.
Okay.
High Street.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. The opposite side of the old Parliament House.
Yes.
Which is the Art Center area.
That's right. You saw
Baden Powell.
That's right.
Okay, this side. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the noise that it created, that they began to speak about the African struggle, Marcus Garvey, this and that and that. I walked home from there to Osu without even realizing it. It was as if I was walking on air.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
No, I mean, so you went there as a reporter to cover. So what did you end up covering?
Where did I?
No, what did you end up picking from all that took place as a journalist?
That I, as an African, not just a Ghanaian, had a duty to make sure that every African on the continent, whether ruled by the British, the French, the Spanish, the Portuguese, should also have that same feeling that this is the day on which my country was liberated.
Tell me, when you were going to the polo grounds that day, what was your expectation? Did you have any form of trepidation? It's like, this thing, is it real?
Well, I had been in Parliament House.
Okay.
And it had started there. Nkrumah had spoken, Busia had spoken. It had started there already. Okay. And then we all just walked.
Remember what they said? Some of the things they were saying in Parliament prior to the Polo Ground Declaration?
That we are all very happy. We had trouble with the National Liberation Movement and violence and so on. They said, at long last, we are all one.
So what was Busia saying?
That it was a good thing and we should work together.
I mean, we were not born at the time, so it's good to hear from people like you who were there.
Everybody was optimistic.
Oh, good.
Because we felt that we
So Busia was not against it?
No way. We felt that, he was professor of sociology at the University of Ghana, and he thought, why should I be bossed by a white man? He said it was as simple as that. So everybody was for it. And after they had spoken in the Parliament House, we crossed over to the Polo Ground, which was just...
It was a party.
Yeah. We should see all these
people
in their
some of the names of the people who were on the stage.
On the days. K. Gbedema. Kojo Botsio. Achi Kesley Hayford.
Kesley Hayford.
And only the people who had been to prison during the independence struggle were allowed to wear something called
William Ofuriatta was not there.
No.
Pauli was not there.
No. Theirs was earlier, the United Gold Coast Convention time.
Okay.
But these were CPP people who had gone to jail.
Okay.
I think...
Akwanje wasn't there too?
No, he wasn't there, yes. These people wore caps.
The white
on which they had written PG. Prison graduates.
So that's where the prison graduate thing came from?
Yes.
Wow.
They wanted people to realize that they were proud that because of the struggle,
the fight for freedom, they got
to prison. Yeah. So they were all wearing Northern symbols to show you that the African spirit was in them.
Wow.
And I was fired up. I have spent about 3/4 of my life fighting for Africans, some of whom I had never seen. I used to write news commentaries about South Africa's struggle.
At the time?
No, after.
But
that's where the inspiration came from.
Oh, right. I'm very interested in that Polo Grounds Declaration, and the reason is we've seen pictures, we've seen clips.
Yes.
But most of us in the journalism practice or media practice were not there. Well,
it was fortuitous that a young 19-year-old reporter happened to be there. It was just sheer luck.
And your boss was a white man at the time?
Yes.
You remember his name?
Ian Wilson.
Wilson.
Yes. Head of news.
Okay.
Yes.
And how did he feel about it himself?
They were all happy because the BBC had seconded people to come and help us acquire the skills, and we had got the skills.
So that evening, what time was it when the declaration was made at the Polo Grounds?
Exactly at midnight.
Midnight?
Yes. It was made dramatic by the post office siren.
The siren, yes. At the post office almost next door. Yeah.
And it used to only toll at midday. Yeah. On this particular day, it tolled at midnight.
And the
unbelievable.
Wow, that must have been an experience, a real experience.
But what Nkrumah said, which really went into my soul, was the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it is linked up with the independence of the whole of Africa. Ghana's independence was meaningless unless it was linked up with the total liberation of the African country.
And this was in 1957.
So throughout my journalistic career, you find that I've been interested. I write articles about Nigeria, Mozambique, and particularly South Africa.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, you've been all over the place.
And I've met a whole lot of African leaders.
Okay. Now, the next thing that we would like to see is from that, you also used to do some parliamentary reporting, right?
Yes.
Okay. We would like to know a bit more about the parliament of the then Gold Coast into Ghana as compared to what we have today. You are watching or listening to FootPrints, CCTV, CTFM, whichever one you choose. But and I'm speaking with Cameron Duodu, a veteran journalist and a media practitioner of many, many decades. We'll take a short break. When we come back, he'll tell us what Parliament looked like at the time. My name is still Samuel Atamensa. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the program. This is Footprint, and today I have Cameron Duodu with us, and it's a whole history lesson, I'm telling you. And if you just joined in, he's a veteran journalist and of many decades, and at least he's been doing this for the last 6.5 decades, trust me, and very actively. No dull moments for this man. And at this point, he's turning 85 very soon. And so we are here to have a chat with him. So the parliament of, was it 1954, 55?
No. After independence, 57.
Okay.
So the parliament was active in 57, 58, 59. And all that time I was parliamentary correspondent.
Parliamentary correspondent for
yes,
GBC.
For GBC. And it was very, very tough because there had been a great deal of struggle before independence. You know about the National Liberation Movement and the violent struggle and how some people wanted federation and so on. So when they came...
What did you think at the time?
I wanted unitary government.
Not a federation?
No, because
ethnicity?
Ghana was so small, and there was no need to, replicate expenditures.
Okay.
This region will have its own parliament and ministers and so on. So I was purely on pragmatic grounds for a unitary form of government.
Okay. Right.
But I had to forget it and report what they were saying. I didn't have to put my own ideas into it at all.
Yeah.
Now, at that time, the political struggle was really serious. You had equally matched people with enough intelligence and speaking skill to take it on.
On one another, yeah.
Yes. On the government front bench, you had Kofi Bakum, very, very eloquent.
What was his profession as a lawyer?
No, I think he was a teacher and then became an information guy.
Okay.
He was editing one of Nkrumah's papers in the central region. Then you had Bedema, who was very solid in finance. You had Botio, who was an Oxford graduate. And so then on the opposition side, you had Victor Wusu, you had Joe Appiah, you had Arara Mponsa, and a few others. And they were equally matched. So any subject that came up, you had very good debating.
You mean the exchanges were of good quality?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they had a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Kofi Baako, for instance, was very funny. And Joe Appiah. Oh, Krobaduse went to bring a man from Holland to try and set up an insurance business in Ghana called Dr. Savundra. And they realized that, in fact, Savundra was based in London, having collected a lot of money from clients and squandered the money, and he wanted to come and do the same thing in Ghana. So Joe Appiah and others got the press cuttings from London. And they began. As soon as Krobaduse showed his face in the house, they all shout, Savu! And the others would say, Indra! Every single day.
Because Joe Appiah got married to Peggy, the white lady, right?
Yes.
Peggy Appiah, who of course obviously became Peggy Appiah.
And he was very good at debating because he spent a lot of time as a law student
in England.
At Hyde Park in London.
Inside central London.
Yes.
Wow.
You
going to the Hyde Park to see people speak,
say things.
So you knew them like, this is Joe Appiah, you need face to face like this.
Yes, and they were sharp. So they would go.
I like your emphasis on they were sharp.
They were sharp.
Eloquent.
They would listen to your broadcast and see whether you give the government side more time than them, whether you got what they were saying right. So and we didn't have time. I used to go by scooter from Broadcasting House to the Parliament House and get away at around noon to come and do the 1 o'clock parliamentary report.
Whoa.
And all this pressure, if you made one mistake, you used the wrong word, these people will come for you. And when I see some of our...
so the Nkrumah side, I won't rush this one because it's interesting. The Nkrumah side, give me some of the names again that you remember. I know it's been a while, but, that's the government side,
Well, Nkumsa.
Oh, Nkumsa, yes. He was a member of parliament.
Yes, and a minister.
For where? You remember?
No, not.
Okay. I know he comes from the Takrady area.
That's right, yes. Yeah. Nkumsa was a minister, F.Y. Asare,
Kanda.
Mr.
Kanda.
Who's Kanda?
Well, there was a Kanda man, the person after who they named the Kanda estates.
Well, that might have been afterwards. But J. Brahma, you've heard of him. Then those were on the government side. They were equally matched, as I say, and experienced politicians, because they were the first people to be elected by universal adult franchise in the country, and they fought hard to win their seats. And you could see from the election results how close things were. So once they got there, they wanted to impress their constituents that they were worthy of being returned. It was very, very interesting, very exciting. And I was extremely hurt when, in 1958, Nkrumah passed the Preventive Detention Act, because it then shut off all this brilliance. When you are talking, you think twice. In case I offend them, they can put me in jail for 5 years without trial. And
including parliamentarians?
A lot of them went. Yes, Victor Uzi was there, Joe Appiah was there. Almost the entire opposition front bench was put in preventive detention.
For speaking
Yes.
Just for speaking?
Well, that was...
Or for lying? Is this for speaking or for telling lies or for...
No. Parliament, if you tell lies, somebody says, point of order, immediately they will pick you up there.
Man.
You know.
That has taken away from the whole excitement, man.
Well, we had to learn from it.
Then you as a pressman, you better be careful.
We were careful, but not out of fear. I didn't want anyone to say you made a mistake, you misquoted me. I hate that. So it was different. We upheld our standards. Okay. We heard what they said, summarized it. As I say, they heard it, and if you had made a mistake, they would come for you.
At this time, who was the speaker?
We had, to begin with, Mr. Quist. E.C. Quist first one, and then Akiwumi, and J.R. Asiedu and others. Yes. And these were people who had been trained in the House of Commons. So they too helped the standard to be very high.
Wow. So you covered Parliament for how many years?
3 years.
3 years?
Yes.
So up until 1960?
Yes. Wow. And in 1960, I got an offer from Drum magazine to come and become the editor.
Okay. Drum magazine at that time, was it in Southern Africa or something?
Yes, it had started in South Africa and opened branches in Nigeria and Ghana and East Africa.
Okay. And
I was made the editor of the Ghana edition. At this time, I had had enough of the political scene in broadcasting house.
You wanted to run away from this whole politics things, man.
Even they had a person in broadcasting who was censoring our stuff.
Censoring means what?
He will read the bulletin and say, I don't want this article in it or this sentence in it.
Because you didn't get it right or because he didn't like it? Because
it is against government policy. And he didn't explain what the government policy was. You know, and to us it was very annoying.
Yeah.
Can you imagine me with 3 years of Parliament, never having made a mistake? And you take my bulletin and you say, throw this this item
because
out.
It was not favorable to government.
Yes.
So don't publish it.
Yes. Say, let me give you a concrete example. You've heard about the Ghana-Guinea Mali Union. Yeah. Nkrumah invited these
president
to come, and he gave them money, and they said they were going to form a union. It didn't work because of the mechanics of the thing. You know, these people didn't have a common border with us, and so on. And they spoke French, we spoke English. So it wasn't working well. As soon as it began to go sour, this censor in the broadcasting newsroom began to throw out articles that mentioned Sekou Touré's name.
Okay. So basically, don't make Nkrumah unpopular.
We didn't even consider that. You know, we didn't have time to say, if Sekou Touré has said A, and Nkrumah has said B, then it means they have. But the point is, he has said something newsworthy. Just other news sources have reported it, and we are also reporting it because we want to be authoritative. We want people to believe that what they're getting on GBC is something that could be brought.
Who were some of your colleagues at GBC at the time? Remember them by name?
Yes, Kweja Were, Eric Ajololo, Osei Echampon, DANQUAH Smith, Charles Segbefia, people of that time.
Where are they now?
Well, I haven't followed all of them, but I think a lot of them have gone and some are still around.
Oh, okay. Oh, man, it's not easy. Okay, so after GBC, you started work with Drum magazine.
Yes.
Now, what was the positioning of Drum magazines? What was it about? Political, social? What was it?
Drum was a general purpose magazine. The idea was to have a beautiful girl on the cover, and you think that's enough. When we opened, we got serious articles about all manner of things. life generally. And it was very, very popular.
Yeah.
Now, whilst I was at GBC, the editor of the time, Mr. Henry Ofori, had tried to recruit me to come to Drum. And I had...
You mean the editor of where?
The Drum magazine.
Okay, all right.
He had wanted me to come and join him.
Mm-hmm.
I went and told the people at broadcasting that I had this offer and I wanted to go. They promoted me on the spot. They said, we won't let you go. When I went and told Henry Ford, he was very angry, of course. He said, you used my offer to go and get a promotion. I said, no, that's not the reason. But I saw the head of the Director General speaking to the Civil Service Commission. And they don't promote people twice a year. But I had just had my sub-editor's promotion, and now they wanted me to be editor. And he had to persuade them. And I was there when he was talking to them. So having got the Civil Service Commission to agree to promote me, I can't say no, it's just not fair. And he was very angry. Anyway, I didn't know. About 2 months after this conversation between us, Drum was banned by the Nkrumah government. It couldn't circulate in Ghana.
Wow.
And I didn't know. Henry Ford left and went to America. Then I got a call from the owner of Drum saying that the first offer they had made to me was going to be doubled. 23 years old. I was going to earn in those days about 200 pounds a month. 3 years earlier, I was earning £7 a month as a pupil teacher.
In the Siakwa.
So I said, as for this one, dear, I have to accept it. So I accepted it. When I got to the Drum office, there was nobody there. All the editorial people had dispersed because they had been banned. And they had just managed to get the ban lifted. At 23, I was editor of the largest magazine in Ghana, alone. Nobody even to tell me, you used to be a broadcaster, so you must know how a magazine is done. No. It's good, challenge. So, a popular magazine, and I had to find my way through, find stories that were interesting, and then I began to, because of my self-education background, I began to look for people about whom I could write to inspire others. So I began to look for Africans who had made good careers in the civil service, university people, and so on and so forth. And Drum again picked up. I almost doubled the circulation. Yes. But
circulation was just Ghana at the time?
Yes.
Okay.
The Ghana edition was doing about 60,000 when I joined, and I moved up to about 120,000.
That's a lot.
It was. And it was fantastic. My own boss, writing what I wanted to write, and trying to win popular appeal, because as you remember, I'd always wanted my name to be known. So I went to Togo to look for stories on Juju and just put an educated stint on it so that people wouldn't just say that it's superstition. How did they have this power to cut themselves without drawing blood? And I went to university and spoke to psychologists and said there's something called auto-suggestion. People can actually have control over their bodies by just focusing with their minds. Yes, and things of that sort. I looked for local doctors who knew herbs.
So that's how you created a new face of the Drum magazine.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Very, very educational, because I have a thirst for education.
So this drum magazine thing took you to, for how long? How long were you there?
5 years.
5 years, okay.
65
That's a
years.
long time. At this time, Nkrumah was still the boss.
Yes. And what got me out of drum was when Dr. J.B. DANQUAH died in prison. Preventive detention without trial. This went against every principle that I stand for. If a person is being accused of something, give him a chance to come cross-examine the person making the accusation.
So J.B. DANQUAH at the time was he a member of parliament?
No, he wasn't. He had been a member of parliament, a member of the Big Six, and after before independence, he had been a member of parliament. And he was the doyen of Ghana politics. That's how he was known. And he used to say things.
So he was in opposition then?
Yes.
Okay.
But
he wasn't in parliament at the time?
No. And they accused him of plotting to overthrow the government without any public evidence.
All right.
And
so he was jailed?
Yes. 65 years of age, suffering from asthma. They threw him at his own prison. And he died there in a cell. So
Nkrumah put J.B. DANQUAH behind cells because he was suspected as plotting a coup d'etat, if you like.
Yes.
And they didn't provide any evidence at the time.
He wasn't tried.
And he was also not given a chance to be tried.
No.
And he was left in cells.
Yes, the Sawam prison, which was notorious for being...
For how long?
I think he was there for over a year.
And then he died?
There, yes.
Just like that?
Just like that. It was sad. You know, and I said...
Because you are in the media, so how did people take it generally?
It was muted, you know.
When he died?
Yes. The government then owned the Daily Graphic, it owned the Ghanaian Times, and of course, Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. So it was muted, but people went to the funeral. And I took a cameraman to the funeral, and we photographed everything. And I knew there were security people on the spot looking at us. I said, J.B. DANQUAH is dead. You can catch me. We got the whole thing, and then I managed to send it to London.
Wow. People, I'm speaking here with Cameron Duodu, a veteran journalist, and he's telling us very interesting stories. And at this point, he's telling us about how J.B. DANQUAH was incarcerated and died in the process. So we are at his funeral where he went with his cameraman, took some pictures, and managed to get them to out to the world out there. So this is still Footprint. We'll take a short break and then come back and continue with Mr. Cameron Duodu. Welcome back to the program. This is Footprint, and I'm here with Cameron Duodu. He's a veteran broadcaster from DANQUAH in the Eastern region. So you were, then you had to leave Drum magazine.
Yes.
You know, and you did. So at the funeral, you managed to take your cameraman. Who exactly did you send the pictures to?
The drum production process was, they made it up.
Oh, at that time, you are still with the Drum magazine?
Yes.
Oh, okay. It
was, we went to cover the funeral for the Drum.
Oh, good. All right.
So when we had finished, I sent them to London secretly, and they decided not to publish them right away. Because, as I said, they had been banned before. They didn't want to be banned again, and they were just watching them. And within, from September to around February, the coup happened, and they printed the pictures.
Okay.
Amazing in Drum. Oh, it just sold out like that.
So the traditional media at the time did not report?
Look, it is one of the saddest episodes in Ghana's history. After they had put JB DANQUAH's body in the chapel, whilst the priest was going to officiate, his first words were, "I have been told that the government wants us to finish before it gets dark." Even a funeral for a dead man, they had to determine the time limit of it.
Where was it held?
Chebi Presbyterian Church. But there were people in Ghana who were not afraid. William Furiata had been detained and released. He was there. He didn't mind being photographed. Dr. Thomas Mensah, I don't know whether you've heard of him. He used to be a lecturer at the University of Ghana. Okay. He was there. Professor Duodu was there. A whole lot of people were there. Because at that time, people felt that...
But nobody from the CPP government was there?
No.
What, they were enemies?
They had put the man in prison without trial, and he had died in prison on their hands. The last thing they wanted was to, you know...
But some of them could have been family, even though they were on different political sides.
Well, that would be at Chebi itself, you know, and places like that. But they wouldn't want to show their faces in public at that time.
Wow. Okay. So you continued running the drum magazine in Ghana?
No, after I left. I left in September '65 because I had been warned to go.
Oh, you were warned?
Yes.
Why, they were
by
looking for you?
By a member of the executive of the CPP.
Who was that?
I won't mention the name.
Oh, but by now he's dead or something?
Yes, but I still won't mention the name.
Yeah.
Yeah. There
I like to know.
Certain ethics that journalists trigger. One of them is informed sources and reliable sources.
Because it's been, as you say, we have declassified it, so...
You may have, but I hold fast to the ethics. If I publish it and I came to talk to you tomorrow, at the back of your mind, you say,
one day this man will blow my cover. Okay, so he gave you the information, and then how did you get out of town? Or that one is...
No, I can tell you. I had an invitation to go and look at another magazine in Paris. And at that time, you needed to apply for an exit permit to get out of Ghana.
So you needed an exit permit from the government of Ghana
to leave Ghana.
In addition to the visa to wherever you're going?
Yes.
So the visa alone will not take you out?
No.
Except you had exit permits. Wow.
And I attached it to my application, the invitation to go and be attached to this magazine.
So this exit permit, tell me, was for every Ghanaian?
Yes.
You couldn't travel if you didn't have an exit permit?
Absolutely.
So they will give you the permit if you are not dangerous?
Yes, well,
or considered
it will
dangerous.
give them an opportunity to investigate you and give somebody the chance of saying, I don't think...
And this was all under Nkrumah?
Yes.
The superintendent over this?
Yes.
I see. Anyway, so you finally got the exit permit to leave Ghana?
Yes.
And you went to Paris?
Yes.
Wow. Tell me, so when you were going, did you think you were not... had you planned that you were not coming back?
Listen, I didn't have a job in London lined up. And my French is not good enough for me to work in Paris. So it was pure bravado. I needed to take that chance. Either that or I had been warned I would be detained. Because I was writing all sorts of things. You know, freely. I was at Polo Ground when independence was declared, and I was going to make use of it with my pen. And I wrote all sorts of things. When the CBP had an argument with Colonel Cruz O'Brien at the University of Ghana about academic freedom.
They had an argument with who?
Colonel Cruz O'Brien.
I've never heard the name, man. So I'm sure most of my viewers will not know
He
what.
was the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana.
O'Brien, that's a white guy, right?
Yeah. And I took his side because,
It made more sense, man.
well, I looked at the facts and the arguments, and I published my view.
Yeah.
That is what's done. This is my view, this is your view. Leave it to the public to decide. But they didn't want you to have your view published.
Okay.
So
Not that you are telling a lie.
no.
All right.
Or even insulting anybody. I mean, if you look at what we were doing and what people are doing today, you can't believe it's the same country.
Wow. So interesting. Where did you finally end up?
London.
London.
Yes.
Okay.
And I began to cultivate relationships with the Observer newspaper and others. And as you hinted earlier, I was writing about Africa and West Africa and Ghana from London. And
Through which?
the Observer.
The Observer.
The
okay.
week Sunday Observer.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So I began to build up for myself.
But that wasn't an employment or the
No,
freelancing.
freelance. Yes. So I began to build up a name for myself in London. And then also I was now doing a lot of contributions for the BBC. But what saved me in London most
How
was
did you, at the time, and I presume this will be in the late 60s,
yes.
okay, how did you legitimize your stay in London at the time? Did you have to take political asylum?
No.
Okay.
What happened was I went in September 65 and I had 6 months within which to decide what to do. And before the 6 months were up for me to go and renew my stay, the coup happened here, so I came back.
Oh, so you came back to Ghana?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
in 66.
Wow.
Yes,
With a lot of excitement.
very excited. We hoped that now that people who had been suppressed had come to power, no longer would there be any suppression because they knew what it was like being taken to prison without being allowed to defend yourself. It was terrible. So there was a lot of optimism in Ghana after the February 24, 1966 coup. It wasn't because people didn't like Kwame Nkrumah's face or anything of that sort, but the idea that the state had that power to control your mind. A fellow human being sits there and say, what you are saying is not something that I can permit you to say. What right did anybody have to do a thing like that? So a lot of people, even those who were not politicians, the idea that this could happen to them didn't please them a lot. And then they realized, of course, that the media were all singing the same tune all the time. At one stage, once I was at broadcasting, we were instructed to begin every news bulletin with the words, Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, President of the Republic of Ghana.
It means you have to start with a story that would give him some recognition. That must be painful.
Well, it was silly. Yeah. Because as soon as they make bang, 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 bang,
40, 50 years after, it's still silly.
The children will be shouting, Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, President of the Republic of Ghana. Yeah, and then they will go and play.
Wow.
It's ridiculous.
So, in your own pathway, I mean, how did things turn out for you?
Well, I knew that I was back home, but as a freelance, I needed to work with people here. And I was writing, until I was invited to become editor of the Daily Graphic.
That was in 1970?
No, this was 68.
68, okay.
Yes. And I didn't know. They called me to the castle And
who was the head of state at the time?
General DANQUAH.
Mm-hmm.
And this was orchestrated by his press secretary, Mr. Loko.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, they had sacked the editor of the Daily Graphic and some of the senior chaps there.
Who was the editor at the time?
Who was the editor? I can't remember.
Okay, you remember the name.
Can't remember the name.
Yeah.
But they had all been sacked. Oh, I think it was Dumoga.
What?
Kojo Dumoga.
Okay.
He was the supervising editor. Mm-hmm. And he had been sacked together with a few others. And they had also sacked people at the Guinea Press, Ghanaian Times, and the
Evening News.
Evening News and the Spectator. You know, all over an argument over whether Ghana's state-owned pharmaceutical company should be sold to an American company called Abbott Laboratories.
Yeah, Abbott Laboratories, yes.
And they all said no. The agreement that the military government wanted to sign with Abbott was not good for Ghana. And these people who had overthrown Kwame Nkrumah for not being tolerant were so intolerant that it sacked the editors who made this argument.
Mm.
And I didn't know. They just said, oh, would you like to go and be the editor of the Daily Graphic? And I said, yes. I've been telling people that I don't like the standards that our newspapers are projecting. So I would like to go and have a chance to show what can be done with a good daily newspaper. For I've just come back from London. I've seen how the Observer and others operate. And I wanted to import some of the ideas here. So he said, it took me to go and see the secretary to the cabinet and said, oh, he has accepted. And he left. Then something came to me. I don't know from where. And I said to Mr. Palu, the secretary to the cabinet, sir, I must warn you that if there is an argument in which the public interest is posited against the government's interest, I will inevitably favor the public interest.
I've been speaking with Cameron Duodu, a veteran journalist, and unfortunately this is where we lower the curtains on this episode of Footprint. I know we have learnt a lot. We'll try and see if we'll do another episode to add to this one. My name is Samuel Atamensa. Thanks for joining us. See you another time.